and welcome. Welcome to the 41st Annual Mayor's Installation and Community Service Awards event. I'm Newell Arnerich, the outgoing mayor, in case you read the wrong article. Thank you.
You're not clapping because you're outgoing.
And by the way, I think I'm getting kicked by somebody that get out of the way. So, but first, I really want to take a moment just to say thank you to our future is standing here. All the young men and women here from the San Ramon Valley High School Chamber Singers that came here tonight. Under the direction of, where is he? Michael, there he is, Michael DiGiacinto as the choir director. We're really pleased to be here, and thank you for setting this tone so well to get us into the holiday mood. Next, we also have a special that, since we're back live, we went to live meetings back in July, but it took us several months before we could get Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Scouts, girls to be able to join us for our flag ceremony. We're really proud tonight to see Troop 36, girls, as you know, BSA as its relabel, which was Boy Scouts of America, just a little over 2 years ago, changed their bylaws. And we have a group of women here in Danville who, well, some of us had the fortune to be able to go. They have made Eagle Scout faster than some of the young men. And we were so proud that they're here tonight. So their meetings and their sponsor is St. Timothy's Episcopal Church, and their senior patrol leader is Ellie Maddox, under the direction of Steve Reddick. And we are proud tonight to have them lead us in our flag ceremony and the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies, it's all yours.
Color guard attention. Color guard, ready, move. Color guard, prepare to post the colors. Color guard, post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, retreat.
Thank you, ladies, for getting us also off to such a great start. And now, we'd love to welcome back the San Ramon Valley High School Chamber Singers.
Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the
Meeting's over. It doesn't get better than this. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks, Dawn. Well, it is really exciting as we have seen the impacts of COVID, both on government, our personal lives. It has really impacted our youth. And it's so exciting to see all these young men and women back. They're engaged, and they truly are. I was talking to a friend, Kalisa LaRue, tonight, that when you see the kids that have come out of the past 2 years, that are the juniors and seniors, they are changed, they are focused, and they understand the value of life and what it's like to have things taken away from you under those such dire circumstances. So again, Danville has a lot of firsts. Our first that we've been the safest city for now 6-7 years. That's a first in the state of California. The first to have a girls BSA troop, the first to have girls get Eagle Scouts. It's really proud for all of us as parents, and I guess I'm part of, most of us are up here, are the parents that are 80% of our community don't have school-age kids, but we all have children. But it's our number one value proposition, and our kids are our future. So very exciting to see them here today. So it's my pleasure. I'm going to start off by introducing our staff before we introduce. I'm going to ask each of our council members to introduce themselves, but I'd like to start off with Marie Sunseri, our city clerk, who we wouldn't have elections, we wouldn't have our record keeping, and we wouldn't have an event like this if it wasn't for Marie Sunseri. Marie, thank you so much. And I would like to turn, the person who runs this ship, gives us the guidance, has lived here for many years, and literally everything that's been planned in Danville has been planned by this gentleman. That's none other than Joe Calabrigo, our town manager, our former director of planning. Joe, thank you for being here. And lastly, from staff, the person who keeps us and you engaged in government is our city attorney. His job is to tell us when we're going too far and to make sure that we are representing the public and making sure that we do everything in a way that we are as open as possible. And we were delighted to have Rob Ewing be with our community for so many years. A local resident is Rob Ewing. Thank you, Rob. Let's start down on this side with our newest council member.
Hi, I'm Council Member Dave Fong.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Karen Stepper.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Robert Storr.
Wow, that was great, Robert. Vice Mayor. Good evening, Councilmember Renee Morgan.
I do want to take time. We have some great friends and agencies that we cooperate with as closely as your best friend, which is important in how local government works. And we're delighted tonight to have a former Danville mayor, a Danville council member, but who is our current county supervisor of this district, District 2, Candace Anderson. Welcome, Candace. Our dear friend who was just reelected in the city of San Ramon, the mayor for his second 2-year term, but a long-time serving council member here in the San Ramon Valley, none other than Dave Hudson, mayor of San Ramon. And last but not least, no, it's not last. Why did I say that? Whenever I think of our fire chief, I always think he's the last guy that we had. He does such an outstanding job, lives in this community, is an incredible leader who's helping make changes here to make our community better and safer. And by the way, if you haven't heard, we are the best fire department, fire service entity in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And that's due to all the men and women, but it always takes a leader, just like Joe Calabrigo. Chief Paige Meyer. Chief, thank you for being here. And we also have a person who we've known for many, many years. He's a Danville resident. He currently serves on the school board, and he did not apply to run again. He has done an outstanding service. That's none other than Ken Mintz, who also, by the way, applied recently to join our planning commission because he was a former planning commissioner in San Ramon. So let's welcome Ken Mintz. Thank you, Ken. And we also have, we always forget there are a lot of elected agencies. So the fire department, it's just like a council. Those are independent agencies, school districts. They're all called special districts. But one of those that has a really close partnership with our school district here, particularly with our high school students, who in our high school system, many graduate as a senior in high school, but they start college as a junior. And it's because of the partnership that we have with our community college district. And we have a board member here who lives in the San Ramon Valley, Andy Lee. Andy, thank you for being here. Who would thought I thought about just getting through college, much less trying to do it at the same time I'm trying to figure out how to get to high school. But that's pretty amazing. We also have a couple of other people who I'd like to point out. Another elected official, just like there are council members, Ken Mintz on the school board, you also have board members that are on the fire board. And we're delighted tonight to have Matt Stamey, who is also a director on the fire board. Matt, welcome. And of course, we wouldn't be the safest community for this many years if it wasn't for great leadership, and it's none other under the stewardship of our Chief of Police, Alan Shields. Alan, thank you. He lives here, has 3 boys. I think 2 of them are in high school, 1's still in middle school, and it's just great to see Alan raise his family here as well. 2 other people I'd like to take time to introduce. They're not elected, but they're important partners to the town of Danville and our business community. That's none other than our Danville Area Chamber of Commerce, and the president and CEO is Judy Lloyd. Judy, where are you? There you are. Thank you. And also one of the board members, also a former chairman, Tim Argenti. Tim, thank you for being here as well. And lastly, all of us know this gentleman personally, and we've been friends for a year. He's been a great leader. Recently, he's been recognized for a lot of contributions to our community. We'd just like to take a moment to recognize the gentleman that's here tonight. That's Major General Ron Lowe, a Danville resident. Thank you. Well, now we're going to get on with really cool stuff. We're going to recognize people tonight who have been volunteers in our community that serve on commissions and boards. We're going to recognize individuals who do extraordinary things in our community. We're also going to do something that's really important tonight. We have 2 members that are going to be sworn back in on our council for a new 4-year term. And the very last thing we're going to do is select a new mayor and a vice mayor to lead us in 2023. But I would like to share with you, this event is being recorded. You'll see the cameras here. And it'll be broadcast on Comcast Channel 26 or on UVerse, AT&T's 99, on Monday, December 12th at 8 p.m., Saturday, December 17th at 7 p.m., Monday, December 19th at 4 p.m., Thursday, December 22nd, 10 a.m., and Tuesday, December 27th at 2 p.m. And it's also printed in your program. So if you have friends that weren't able to see this, to be able to celebrate and see what some of their neighbors and friends were doing, please ask them to join in and watch that. And now, we are particularly touched by 2 gentlemen in this valley who, for many, many years, have had to struggle to create an interfaith relationship in our community. What that means is bringing together people of all faiths who traditionally, each church had their own silos, their own communities and stuff. And they've done it tirelessly to get our community to realize that we all believe in one thing, but most importantly, we believe in each other. And they have fought hard to stop hatred and the spread of that, to build understanding and mutual appreciation of each other. And we are very delighted tonight to have those two gentlemen, Rabbi Dan Goldblatt from Beth Hayim Congregation and Pastor Steve Harms of Peace Lutheran Church. And I would like, gentlemen, to invite you up, and you can decide who goes first, who will give us our invocations.
Good evening, good to be with you. When a wise mayor and town council govern, the people in the community are hardly aware that they exist. Next best is a leader who is loved. Next, one who is feared. The worst mayor is one who is despised. The wise mayor rarely speaks. He or she acts. And when their work is done, the people say, "Amazing! We did it all by ourselves." That's Lao Tzu, Taoist founder, 2,500 years ago. A little more recently, Pope John the 23rd said, "The church is not a museum to be dusted, it's a garden to be cultivated." He also said, when interviewed by the press once, "How many people work at the Vatican?" And he said, "Oh, about half." Now, what he said of the church, I think also applies to government itself, and especially these days, to democracy. It's not an old-fashioned thing to be dusted off now and then. Wasn't that a great phase? No, it's a garden to be cultivated. It needs to flourish. We have gone to the moon, friends. That's amazing, setting our sights even higher. But can we travel that far, greater distance to cross the street and discover our neighbors? We are blessed to live in a time and in a community of multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious dimensions. And as leaders of the interfaith movement here, and I serve, we are here to partner with you, with new wise mayors and town councils, in cultivating the garden and in flourishing the garden of democracy together.
So our invocation tonight comes in the form of a parable. The master asked his disciples how they could tell when the night had ended and the new day had begun. One of the students said, "When you see an animal in the distance and you can tell whether it is a horse or a cow." The master said, "No." Another student said, "When you look at a tree in the distance and you can tell whether it is a peach tree or a fig tree." "Wrong again," said the master. "Well then," said the students, When is it? The master replied, when you look at the face of a man or a woman and see that he is your brother, that she is your sister. For if you cannot do this, then no matter what time it is by the sun, it is still night. At this moment of transition, we bless the incoming members of our city government and those that are staying on, that in every member of our community that you work with, that you support and lead, you see the faces of your brothers and sisters, and that you see and reflect the beauty of human connection, the power of human love, and the compassion of every human soul. And in every person, may you see and reflect a life as precious as your own.
Thank you.
Amen. Steve.
Just want to share something with the two of you. What we'd like to do is, on behalf of the council, we've signed a book. This is about the history of Danville. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. And here, you have been part of this history, and we have a lot of blank pages. And we'd like, I always tell the scouts, we want to see your future and the impact you've made documented here in these books. We just want to say thank you guys so much for being here and all the work you do in our community. Thank you. Thank you. Well, now this is pretty exciting. I'm going to turn this over to our city clerk, who is now going to conduct the swearing in of our council members, Robert Storr and Karen Stepper.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, Robert Storr, do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Well done. Congratulations, Karen. Thank you, Robert. Marie, thank you for that. You may have noticed that swearing-in oath is the exact oath that the President of the United States takes, with the exception it adds about the state constitution for the state of California. It's an important job and an important role, and we were very proud to have two of you come back with your experience and your incredible leadership skills to help guide Danville through what next year will be a challenging year as we deal with some of the state challenges they put upon us. And that's a polite way to say that. I just got a note here too. Senator Steve Glazer could not be here tonight nor could Rebecca Bauer-Cahan. But Steve Glazer sent a video thanking us as a council and for this past year and all the work we've done and how we have worked. I will post that on one of our social media sites, but we just want to thank Senator Glazer and Assemblywoman Rebecca Bauer-Cahan for their service to our community as well. Let's give them a big hand. Now, did you guys sign your oath? Because it's not official unless you signed it. I don't know. I don't think we can install a mayor who haven't signed their oath, so maybe we'll do that. Next, this is a time where we have Danville's poet laureate Elaine Betts would be here to read a poem. And she writes a poem for each one of our events. She's incredibly talented. But due to family considerations, she actually had to leave the country to go care for some elderly parents and make some arrangements. And we wish her well. But we have something new and exciting. And we're going to actually do more of an introduction for her later. But we just recently went through the process, created a new ordinance to create a student, or what we call a youth poet laureate, who works with our Danville poet laureate. And we're really pleased tonight to have Madeline Reutfeld, who is here tonight, who is going to read that poem, and then she'll come back later in the program and we'll do a proper introduction with her poem. Madeline, welcome.
Good evening. The poem I will be reciting for you tonight is entitled Gorgeous Danville, and it was written by Poet Laureate Elaine Betts. With rolling hills and open space, Danville is a gorgeous place. What keeps it lovely holds its charm, works to keep those safe from harm. Its dedication of many folk to look for potential, creating hope. Hope for a future that stands time, yet builds on past, and then refine. It's not easy, it's not a given, as folks make stands and future-driven. Sometimes tough and sometimes sad, yet joyful moments also had. For generations to come together, keep Danville gorgeous and ride the weather, to use the resources as best we've got, to look to the future, which means a lot. Rich with history, green space delight, remain robust and heartful sight. Share in the gratitude and give cheers, for our gorgeous Danville continue the years. Post-pandemic, here we are, Danville's exquisite than most by far. Let's stay an example, set the mode, for others to follow and build their road.
Thank you, Madeline. Well, you'll get to see her writing later, because what we asked was, when we did the interviews, and they were tough interviews, you can ask Maddie later, we had them write a poem ahead of time that they thought would be appropriate to be read at this, so you'll get to hear her work later. Now, this takes us to award presentations. And we'll start with a series. The first one are what we call outgoing commissioners. And tonight we have two of those. And we'll start off tonight. Some of these, by the way, could not join us, but we'll still introduce who they were and thank them for their service. And our first one is from our Parks and Recreation Commission. Our liaison is Dave Fong. Dave?
Good evening, and first I would like to thank all of you for attending tonight's Mayor's Installation and Award Celebration. I have the honor of presenting the outgoing Parks Recreation Art Commissioner Award to Alicia Strauss, who's not able to attend tonight's celebration. Alicia served on the Parks, Recs, and Arts Commission for 8 years between 2015 to 2022. Thank you, Alicia, for your commitment, time, and dedication to the town of Danville.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you to Alicia. And now for outgoing Commissioner on Heritage Resource Commission, Councilmember Renee Morgan.
Yes, good evening. I would like to present the award for outgoing commissioner to Mike Amen. He He was an alternate with the Heritage Resource Commission from 6/21 of 16 through 12/31 of 22. Thank you, Mike, for your service to our town.
Thank you, Dave and Renee. I was just trying to move my chair up, and I realized our staff is so great to make this place. They repainted the stage. My chair is stuck to the, I can't move it. So if I look like I'm leaning over, it's okay. But we do want to thank all of them for all the hard work they do to make this place look terrific. And now we will go into service awards. And service awards are given for every 4 years of service as a volunteer to the community. And we also, by the way, we do that, we recognize our employees as well, and we do that in an annual employee luncheon. But tonight, these are our volunteers here in the community. And our first 4 years of service will be presented by Councilmember Renee Morgan.
Would Mark Balotz and Lou Paladrani please join me?
All right.
First of all, I'd like to say that I don't recognize Mark Balotz. Usually he's in sweats and shorts. So if anybody that knows Mark, this is Mark, okay? The Design Review Board assists the Town Council and Planning Commission in reviewing and evaluating proposed site design, architecture, our signs, the landscaping, to ensure consistency with the town's general plan and our ordinances. We also ask them to look at adopted design standards and our criteria, which is not an easy job because Danville is very strict with our ordinances. Right, gentlemen? We've learned, that's right. As many of you know, our commissioners are appointed. They're volunteers. Our current design review group is a wonderful group of people that work really well together. And that being said, Mark Balotz and Lou Palladrini are two of our members of the Design Review Board. Thank you for your 4 years of service, your valuable time, and after our recent reappointments and your grueling interview process with us, we are happy that you will be staying with the Design Review Board for 4 more years. We would like to present you with a commemorative clock. Now, I'd like to show you these clocks. We'd like to remind you that we acknowledge that your time is valuable, and we are honored that you give of your time to make Danville the special place that it is. Thank you for both of you for your 4 years of service.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. Just a reminder, as you just saw Renee do that, as you are called up, if you're being recognized, please stay here because we do want to get photographs. We've been asked to, there will be a published article coming up at least in Danville Magazine that will recognize everybody that's here tonight. Our next, keeping on the time theme, our next recognition is for 8 years of service, and the presenter is Dave Fong. Dave?
Would Chris Trujillo please join me on the podium? Thank you. A little background on Chris while he's walking up here. Chris and his wife and 5 children have been residents of Danville since 2014. Early on, we really appreciated, and he really appreciated the small town atmosphere and all it had to offer, and he decided he'd like to get involved with the town. Initially, Chris served on the Historical Resource Commission, as well as DRB, which is the Design Review Board. And not only was the town just impressed with his credentials as an architect, but Chris brought a fresh perspective to Danville relative to maintaining a small town and visually appealing community and maintaining the fabric of the value of the town and all it offers. Subsequently, Chris volunteered and was appointed as a commissioner to the Planning Commission, in addition to his role at DRB, providing a diligent review of all planning and development proposals coming into Danville. Over the years, DRB and the Planning Commission, and Renee has already commented, have established themselves as a high-performing, cohesive team of individuals from diverse backgrounds coming together and serving the interests of the town, maintaining the core of who we are and what we are and what we want, while encouraging creativity and out-of-the-box thinking on new designs, colors, and architecture so we can continue to evolve as a community. This past term, Chris was elected chair of the Planning Commission, teaming up with his fellow commissioners with a continued focus on the heart and fabric of our community, which is maintaining our special place to live and raise a family, ensuring the protection of our open space, and supporting the growth and expansion with our small businesses. He did an excellent job presiding over the meetings and enabling the commission to tackle and orchestrate team efforts on addressing hard issues. During his continued tenure on DRB and planning, Chris highlighted what was probably his one accomplishment during his time on both DRB and Planning Commission, which was collaborating with the community and the town on the outcome of McGee Preserve, limiting the growth of new homes while preserving open space. We want to thank Chris's wife, Liz, who wasn't able to join us this evening, and your 5 children for sharing Chris with the town of Danville. He's valued and appreciated. Again, the town of Danville truly appreciates folks like Chris who are willing to volunteer much of their time, knowledge, and valued expertise so that the Danville town continues to be a special place to live. Thank you, Chris, for your dedication and commitment to the town of Danville, and we look forward to partnering with you, DRB, and the Planning Commission in 2023. This is a little bit of a token from the town of Danville so that we can help manage your time while we manage our time. But thank you again for all you do for the town. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Dave, we need you to stand and take a photograph with the awardees. Thank you. I was getting ahead of myself and I was standing up just to see if my chair moved. And next we have 12 years of service, and the presenter will be Councilmember Karen Stepper.
And I will ask Randall Diamond and Jerry Warren to please join me at the podium. Great. Welcome, Randall. Great job. Thank you for being up here today. Thanks, Jerry. All right. I'd like to just say a few words before we give them an award for the long service that they have had already for our commission for 12 years. It is a long time. Randall Diamond is here primarily for his passion for parks today, although he has other passions like vector control and other jobs he has done for our town. He has 2 kids that are 8 and 14, I think, and they really utilize the parks and give us that kind of feedback. But Randall looks for feedback in a very different way than a lot of people, because he looks for people out in the community that haven't been heard from, that are hard to get input from. Some of you could just like at a pen pick up and do a poll. Other people would never do that. So Randall's outreach has been very broad for being on our parks, for attending at least 3 conferences statewide. He's got the CERT program. He did the academy with our chief of police, Chief Shields, and Leadership Santa Mon Valley. So those things are outreach so he can talk to other people who don't always agree on what we should do, but that we have got all the outreach we need. If we've got different views, we will come to a conclusion. And a powerful park, and his favorite park is right now Osage, which he calls the golden standard for Danville. So thank you for doing that for us, Randall. And in a minute, I will give you an award. Jerry Warren has also been on our commission that long. And like Randall, he overlaps other different ways to volunteer, not just the one he's here for tonight. But he came in 1985, and he had done a lot of touring with his wife of the grand cities in Europe, so he thought it was wonderful that you could actually savor and save your historical buildings instead of replace them with some current development. So it was a way that he could join the HRC, the Heritage Resource Commission, and preserve our community. But his overlapping roles made a big difference in that because he has long been a board member with the museum. He was in charge of the steering committee of all the volunteers of the Museum of San Ramon Valley. And right now, currently, and in the past, he has been the president of the San Ramon Valley Historical Society. So when you bring those things together and you go see a plaque and you say, did Jerry do this one? He probably did. We don't know which commission did it, but he probably did. So he has brought a lot of research since he had retired from working with retirement homes. He understands the need to look for different ages. I know there's a lot of people from our Senior Advisory Commission out here tonight. So he looking for input from just like the kids that Randall has to the people that are on our senior advisory and getting that mix of multi-generational activities for our parks and for our historic society. So thank you, Jerry, for the research you've done because it's been astounding. When you did the one on the crash of the airplane, out there in 2013 and brought in the role players, so it was a different way to present it. And when somebody comes to a different format, they'll come to the next thing you put on and find out more about Danville. So thank you for bringing history alive for all of us, Jerry. So I'm going to present now, and we'll give Jerry They have a lot of work to do, so maybe portfolios for Randall Diamond and for Jerry Warren, so to use going forward. Thank you, Laura, and thank you both. Well done. Thank you.
Well, the numbers are getting bigger. That was for 12 years. Now we skip all the way to 20 years. The next three people have dedicated their time for 20 years. And yes, one of them is elected. I'd like to ask Councilmember Karen Stepper to join me here, along with Mark Graham and Jim Powers. Yes, let's give them a big hand. So you're asking, why are we recognizing council members? It's a volunteer job, if you haven't figured that out by now. And it takes an incredible amount of work. But I'm going to start with our dear friend, Mark Graham. He has served 20 years on our Planning Commission. However, he did it in 2 different terms. He had a change in his job. He started in 1999 and 06. At the end of his term, he really couldn't continue to serve as he was traveling a lot. Well, we were fortunate he came back. And we re-interviewed, and nobody gets reappointed unless they go to an interview. So there is a standing rule. You don't show up for the interview, you don't get appointed. Quid pro quo. But what we found in Mark was in the Planning Commission, we needed somebody who understood the values of the community and was willing to say no or yes at the appropriate time. And as you know, sometimes there's a room full of people and everybody says, we're against this. The council, the commissioners all have to make a judgment call of what's best for the greater community. Mark, who's a West Side resident like myself, came on during a time where we had what was considered a very controversial project. It took some time to get the project proved, and now it became one of our standards of a really great, very tiny, small apartment complex, which nobody even knows where it is today. But it represented what you can do when a group of commissioners and along with some of our design review board members work together. So Mark, we want to thank you for all your years of service. We also appreciate one of his real passions is training dogs for the blind. And Mark, thank you for all of that. And now, yes. And now, Jim Powers on our Historic Resource Commission. What I like about Jim is he has a practicalness to him that when you talk about design, it can get a little squeamish. Everybody's, oh, I like that color, I don't like that. It kind of goes off in different directions. But what we need are people that are willing to talk about the detail, the cost implications, because our historic resource structures that we save, those are all voluntary. We don't have the legal authority to force somebody to say that they're going to put in perpetuity that into a historic resource. So what Jim is able to help us do is convince that property owner what that value proposition, that is a package of financial incentives and development standards that we can offer them to make that happen. Now, the real joy that Jim gets to do, and we get invited, but it's their show, is when they actually get a building that might get refurbished, may have that small addition that's complementary on the backside, is when we get to put that plaque to dedicate it and tell the story of how it helped create, build, and influence our community. We are so proud of the work that what Jim does and his tenacity and his skillfulness of making those resource structures stay forever. Jim, thank you for that. It's also equally hard to talk about somebody like Karen Stepper. She joined our council 20 years ago. So literally, on this stage, 20 years ago, she was sworn in for her first time in our council. Karen Stepper brought something that we didn't have in our council. As you know, many of you might know, her background was twofold. One, she was a former teacher, but she became a CPA. You know, it never hurts to have a CPA on a budget where you got to spend $35 million a year. Not like Candace Anderson that spends $4.5 billion a year. And by the way, she spends our entire budget in 72 hours, but who's counting? But Karen Stepper has brought a fresh face and a fresh look at how we did budgeting, how we look at things. She also had a former background being on the school board. So her perspective was from all different sides. And as you know, we've built a really strong partnership with our school district in trying to help them in giving land and facilitating their development and things at a time when they really couldn't afford to do that. Karen helped bring that perspective and helped foster that relationship. And it's an important one that the town, not only being safe, that we want to make sure our schools are safe, and our Chief Shield partners with them, and that we, the council, help fund that. And Karen is an incredible advocate for that. And we want to thank Karen for serving for 20 years. And to be honest, if you know Karen well, she went through some really trying times in health, and she stands here today as proud as any council member, and we are so delighted that Karen Stepper came back for another 4 years. Karen, thank you. And these, on the theme of time, all the time they commit, these are Bulova watches. So thank you for that. And let's take a photo. I'm bumping. Karen. Thank you. And now, before I sit down, we now jump to 28 years of service. And tonight we have just one, and Vice Mayor Robert Storr is here to present that item.
Good. Would Bob Combs please join me at the podium, please? As Bob is working his way up here, I want you all to know how special it is to have somebody contribute their time and volunteer for the town of Danville for 28 years. This is really a pretty special work. Come on, we're gonna have some fun with this one. We're gonna have some fun with this one, buddy. Good to see you. So we really start to see some hallowed ground here right now, and the next two awards are absolutely incredible. 28 and 32 years. I mean, it's almost unheard of. I knew Bob when I first came on the Planning Commission in 2001, and Bob had already been on the Planning Commission for 2 terms, 7 years, and he was considered senior personnel and the voice of reason, just as he is today. I worked for Bob for almost 10 years on the Planning Commission, and I know that his intense work ethic, I had admired his decision-making process, I respected his opinions and his ability to understand complex issues. And that's what you need to do when you're on the Planning Commission. And I always enjoyed his wonderful sense of humor. Bob has always been the consummate professional and always prepared. Truth be told, I actually didn't like him right when I first met him, and I thought he was a little bit rough. And I've told this story before, and I'll give you some reasons why maybe I wouldn't like him. After one of my very first Planning Commission meetings, where I finally had the courage, and remember, Bob had been there for a number of years. I just started. I finally had the courage to ask a couple of questions that I thought were relevant to the conversation. Meeting ended, Bob walked over and said, "That was absolutely the stupidest questions I've ever heard in my life." And he says, "Why in the world would you ask a question you already know the answer to?" "Because those questions were so stupid, you're going to buy me a beer," and we became friends ever since. So, he's always been there to give advice to younger commissioners. And remember, I'm brand new, and he's got almost 7, 8 years. And on one particular occasion, when I had to reapply to the council, you have to go through this interview process. And I said, "Hey, what kind of questions do you think they'll ask?" And Bob says, "Oh, Newell Arnerich will always ask the same 2 questions. What is your least favorite project, and what is your favorite project?" And I said, "I actually don't have a favorite, and I don't have a least favorite." He said, "You need one." He said, "Listen to me. This is Newell's least favorite project." I go to the meeting, Newell asked the question, and I gave him Bob's answer. And Newell looked at me like, "Why would you say that project? That's actually one of my favorite projects." I gave Bob a call, and he thought that was funny as hell, by the way. I said, "You're not going to believe what happened at this meeting." But I will tell you that, that Bob has wanted mixed use in this town for 20 years, and he got it. He wanted more parking to support our downtown. He's been a strong advocate for parking. He got it. We've always appreciated Bob Combs' vision. His opinion is something we all want to hear. He's articulate, he's intelligent, he balances the rights of the property owner with the concerns of the neighborhood, and I will tell you that we're really very proud to have Bob Combs on our commission. And Bob Combs is the reason the bar is set so high in Danville for our architectural excellence, and he leads by example. You want to get something done, you just hand it to Bob Combs and get out of his way. He'll get it done. We all know Danville is a really special place to live and raise your family, but I will say to you, it's a special place to live and raise your family because of people and with people with a vision like Bob Combs. And Bob, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for all that. It's been an absolute pleasure over the years, and all of us on this council appreciate his strong voice, his independent spirit, that extraordinary knowledge of this town, and that mischievous sense of humor, I will tell you, is what makes it all the more special. I cannot imagine this town without Bob Combs. Bobby, thank you very much, buddy. We're starting to get into some good gifts here. Yeah.
Thank you, Bob. This next award is a little awkward. It's for 32 years of service. And there's only been one person in the town of Danville's history that's done that, and it's me. So, but let me tell you this, just because I've been here 32 years, I am sitting in the council in the middle seat because I am the middle age of everybody here. You figure it out. So. And Karen Stepper will present this.
You are coming up, Newell. So, after those comments, yeah, on age and everything, yeah, you better come up. All right, thank you again for joining us tonight. 32 years is amazing. We see this with other councils that we just went to a ceremony this weekend where somebody had served 24 years. So I can tell you that 32 is remarkable. But that's all right. Marie, our Sincere, our clerk, gave me, I think, 1 minute to describe every 10 years of Newell's service to us here. So Still no extra time here. We've got, okay, if you've ever gotten an email from Newell Arnrich, could you please raise your hand so I can at least see if there's a few of you out there? Oh, yes. So now I'm not going to go through the list of the 47 things that he has listed on there that he's been involved in for your benefit, either locally, regionally, internationally. What I'd like to do is just represent a couple of the traits that I think that Newell has brought that not everybody else has, because we all come from our own backgrounds. Yes, he did so all those 47 years that I have culled down to 4 things, okay? The Mayor's Conference of Contra Costa County, past chair, his service on transportation committees, more than you can count, but especially CCTA. The iGate Innovation Hub that our labs in Lawrence, Livermore, and Sandia, where we develop new entrepreneurs and have a program called the Innovation Hub, and the Danville Chamber of Commerce, to recognize Judy Lloyd over here, with 27 years building partnerships with our business community. So now to talk about his non-NGO, non-government-oriented volunteerism, a couple of things that I think are standout. We're the Leadership Santa Moan training because it brings new people to our community to learn how to help. The Discovery Center Board, which offers free counseling to our families throughout our valley, which is particularly critical this year after the pandemic. The Sycamore Valley, Danville Sycamore Valley Rotary past president and all the projects they have brought to our parks and our downtown infrastructure. And he's a business speaker around the globe. And I'm not going to pretend to do that one, but I'm going to tell you that I have a few handouts for anyone that wants to read them later. He wrote an amazing article in the year 2000 about where Danville had been and where it was going. And it's called Danville's Small Town Character, because that's what all of you out there talk about all the time, and what's going on with the development and the housing. And it's, I only copied 2 pages, but you can read the other 10 because they're really interesting, because they're forward-looking, and it tells you that this town, over 32 years, represents a lot of the goals that Newell had. So to conclude, he is a 35-year CEO of his own AD Architects Design.
42.
Okay, so he just aged 7 more years. Okay, so he.
I was 28 when I started.
But the difference is that he has used those skills to help people on a volunteer basis, like at the thrift station, for example, and people who needed help with the parklets a couple years ago and last year. He's got the skills to help them get that job done a lot faster. Newell, who I think he brought his kindergarten sweetheart, that would be his wife Janice, is here in the front row. Janice, welcome. They have a married son and daughter now, and but his son went through the war after 9/11, and so Newell always brought a different perspective to all the veterans events, as did Janice, because they had to live through that, not having their son here and not knowing what was happening. But he always speaks at the 9/11 event, at the Memorial Day event, etc. And he always brings that wonderful service that he did when he did a special welcome home for Vietnam veterans. So how many of you are a Vietnam veteran, huh? Because that was something that nobody else did except Danville. Danville is also a writer and editor. You saw those books that we gave to the rabbi and to the St. Timothy's, because those books have a special page. When Newell gives it to you, he does an individual page that recognizes your own work that you have done. We also have hero event moments that I think that he has been the mayor during those special events. Maybe you remember Sullenberger's 5,000 people on the Danville Green, because it went past Newell to get a whole lot of businesses to contribute to that so that we could have that amazing event. And of course, we had Jessica and the Stephen girls for the water polo, the gold medals from the Olympics. And of course, we also have his work that he does back and forth with Ireland, with our sister city in New Ross, Ireland, which of course emphasizes the importance of Eugene O'Neill. So another thing I want to just comment briefly was that he's that is different from a lot of people. He's always asked to do a lot of eulogies. I've done several myself, and they're always a very special time. But Newell's asked to do so because he's made some really tight friends through the Rotary, et cetera, and he always speaks eloquently with those people, and particularly Stacy Hartman, who passed away several years ago in '07 because she helped everyone in the community to understand ovarian cancer better. And finally, I told you about the little book, the article I have, so don't forget to ask me about that later, because I'm going to quote one sentence in that article, and this again is Danville's small-town character. The real success of our local businesses is entirely in our own hands. We have a choice where to shop, and in a manner that allows us to personally get to know the owners of these businesses in Danville. Precisely what we want our community to be is a direct reflection of our own actions. So go and shop Danville. It's the holidays. So congratulations, Newell.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So he's going to open his present now. But maybe we'll have a picture before he does, huh?
Nobody's ever seen it because nobody's ever done 32 years. Oh, let's open it. It'll look better.
Okay. It's going to look better. Okay, Laura, you got this?
Oh, this is beautiful. So I happened to be also mayor in 1999, 2000, when we saved the depot, and it became the Museum of San Juan Valley.
Okay, so I had already looked that up on our long chronology, because that was the first time that Newell was mayor, was 1999, when we restored them and opened up for the public in June of that year for this wonderful depot. So, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I would just share that my wife Janice and I restored the southern wall of that building. And by the way, that's the hardest wall to repair because it always faces the sun. Very proud of that wall. Well, we are done with volunteer community service awards. And the really highlight of tonight's event are 5 awards of merit. And these are people and organizations that do just extraordinary things. And our first one will be presented by Councilmember Dave Fong. Dave?
I have the honor of presenting the Award of Merit, which recognizes special individuals who exemplify giving back to the community by doing very special things. Andros Stolarsik, would you please join me at the podium? How are you today? Good, good. Just come on, don't be shy. Okay. You wouldn't believe, he's only 13 years old. And he's been involved in hundreds of hours of community service volunteering for Meals on Wheels, Feed My Starving Children, highway cleanups, and serving holiday meals since he was 5 years old. While committed to public service since a very young age, what steps him out from the crowd and what is remarkable and special is attaining Eagle Scout status, which is the highest achievement recognition in the Boy Scouts of America program, and which, by the way, only 4% of all Scouts attain that status. And he was able to do it. But that's not what differentiates him. What differentiates him is the fact that he was able to attain the status at the age of 12 and a half years old, which is that sprinter space. Normally, for those of you who don't know, Eagle Scout status is obtained somewhere around 16 years of age or older. So to be able to do it at 12 and a half is pretty amazing. To achieve this task and this status isn't easy. You need to obtain a minimum of 21 merit badges and complete a community project. To earn each of the merit badges, the candidate must demonstrate accomplishments in many areas, including leadership, personal fitness, citizenship in the community, family life, communication, and leading and completing community service project. By the way, by the time he was 12 and a half years old. And by the way, his project that he completed, what was that?
It was building a Gaga ball pit at my elementary school in Minnewaska.
Which, by the way, is the latest sport that is growing in the United States, even at a faster rate than pickleball right now. So for those in parks, you haven't heard anything yet. You're going to hear a lot more about Gaga ball pits. Which, by the way, is another form of dodgeball, except in a hexagon arena, right?
Yeah, played on the ground.
Yeah. While Andrew has earned Eagle Scout status, it's not about how many merit badges he's been able to obtain. It's also about his character development. He aspires to not slow down. He really enjoys public service and helping others in need. His positive attitude, willingness to help, and good nature makes him a great role model. And by the way, he's also fairly well-rounded because he also plays football, soccer, and baseball as well. Andrew currently attends La Salle School and, and plans to attend De La Salle, joining the community service program while playing football. After high school, he plans to go to college and play football while majoring in mechanical engineering. Andrew fully expects to continue to perform community service work into the future since he receives so much enjoyment helping others since the age of 5 years old. Now, if Andrew is indicative of our youth of today as they become leaders of tomorrow, the future is promising that they will make a positive difference in this world. Our role is really to encourage them and give them as much knowledge and experience to help them succeed. Before presenting this award of merit to Andrew, I would like to introduce you to Andrew Stolarczyk's family, who are also here helping our town celebrate Andrew's accomplishment and continued contribution to the community. So Moose, where are you? And Lynette? And your three sisters, Ella, Ava, and Mia. Thank you for joining us. Incredibly impressive, the town of Danville would like to recognize you, Andrew, with the Award of Merit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. That just reiterates that our future does look bright. And our next presenter, yes, is Councilmember Karen Stepper. Karen.
All right, thank you. And I'd like to ask Lee Halverson to join me up here, please. Yes, we are here. I'll read this short part first, then I'll tell you a little bit more about Lee. This is an award of merit for his extensive service to veterans activities and his commitment and dedication to fundraising and operation of the Veterans Memorial Building and Veterans Museum for the past 10 years without compensation. But that part's not on the award. But it's a pretty remarkable, the number of things that have been happening. First of all, Lee's family goes back to the 1800s. So he used to be at Hearts and Church with the Halverson livery, and his home was there where Foz used to be. But anyway, so in that area, he's been here for that long, and he understands the value of history, the history of the things that are now in our Veterans Building that didn't used to be there, because now generous people in the community have donated those wonderful display cases. Somebody has to fill those, and there's a whole committee, the Library and Collections Committee, and now Lee will be heading that committee, but he has been on that for many, many years. He has also, he came directly into the service. He actually went to local high schools here and went from there right into the Marines. So he is a retiree captain of the Marines and a Purple Heart recipient. He also, yes, thank you. He also served in the Marines as a weather forecaster service officer and then served 10 years in the California Environmental Protection Agency for toxic substances. So he brought a lot of skills, not to mention that he also had been a tax consultant, thanks to me. And that all leads into a really brief what is it that he had been doing with the Veterans Building since the charter started in 2005. We started looking for the new building, and he was part of 2012. And I swear the next day after that April 28th ceremony, he moved into the Veterans Building because it seemed like he was there 6 to 7 hours a day, every day of the week for the last 10 years. And so what was he doing there? Well, coordinating the calendars for the VSOs, serving as a bookkeeper to many of the organizations, doing the work for the Secretary of State, setting up the Exchange Club historic documents on the walls to tell everyone about freedom and the military, serving on the Library and Collections Committee, training scouts and the older venture crew to put together the celebrations of that wonderful building, organizing flag displays and 21-gun salutes without bullets, creating a new docent group to offer free tours of the museum, 9 to 3 every day, and that requires a great dedication and a lot of training. He was a part of all the welcome homes to the swearing-ins, treasurer of the board of directors, doing the 4th of July barbecue for veterans. And when I say doing, I mean he goes out and buys all the food and everything else and cooks it. So and his family's there cleaning it till it's clean. They don't leave that building. So without telling you even more things that she does, which is recognize the Firefighter and Policeman of the Year, which will be recognized this coming weekend with Chief Shields and Paige Meyer here. They recognize that service. Lee's newest projects have been the lighting of the beacon to be 3 times a year to recognize veterans every time that we have an important holiday, to serve on the Legacy Donor Committee, and to create short interviews of some of our veterans before they pass away, because it's really hard to do it later. And he and Al Kalin have put together these interviews with somebody in their original service uniform, where they served, and what that building means to them. We are on the 10th anniversary, and you out here made that building happen, and the town did with an amazing parks grant. So thank you, and thank you to the people that are here from the other veterans organizations here today, because I see Eric and the Marines, and Bob Landy, and Ron Lowe, and Alan Kalin, and I think there's quite a few more of you that are veterans. So on our behalf, after the 10 years, we offer this plaque. That's what you get for your wall, of gratitude for leading the activities of the Veterans Wing, serving them with, saving them endless fundraising that would have been required as it is in many other veterans buildings in this community. So we wish you to continue to serve in the designated areas as with the LACC, as a volunteer trustee, as the treasurer and tour guide. Thank you for all you have done for our community.
Our next award of merit goes to somebody who's done extraordinary, selfless things. As Lee and everybody heard, it's a similar story, but they're about different events. You heard Karen Stepper mention earlier that we had a staff member who passed away some years ago, Stacy Hartman, and she died of ovarian cancer, which, if you know, some years ago, when a woman found out she had it, it was too late to treat it. Just before she died, she worked tirelessly through some very, very difficult times to change the standards so that it became a national standard that the Medical Association would actually adopt, and she saved tens of thousands of lives. Our next person has done something different. I should say something similar. When you take your personal tragedy and you turn it into something that becomes good, this story has 3 really good stories to it. The award was going to one of the individuals, but if you know this husband and wife team, they are inseparable. If you want to laugh your life off, you want to meet these two people. But I'm going to ask them both to come up here. Bob and Kim Hammer. Hammer time. Come on up. I'm going to tell this story about these people. And if you're ever around Danville and they happen to be having dinner and there's somebody's laughing really loud and just going, wow, they're having a great time, it's these guys. Their nickname is Kim Bob, Kim and Bob Hammer. Well, we are recognizing this team for having founded Have a Ball Foundation in 1999, which has hosted celebrity golf tournaments raising millions of dollars for cancer since 2005. Well, Bob's story is a cancer survivor. A two-time testicular cancer survivor founded the Have a Ball Foundation after finishing 26 rounds of chemotherapy and participating in Lance Armstrong's Ride for the Roses bike race in Austin, Texas. He went on to say, as a tribute to give back to organizations such as the Live Strong Foundation, who without their help, their son wouldn't be here. Said they started Have a Ball golf tournament, noting that he met Lance Armstrong's oncologist at the race, who told him he didn't need to have surgery, that he was already scheduled to have. Shortly after that, his now 19-year-old son, Josh, was born and conceived naturally. What a gift of life. They dedicated their time and raising now over $4 million just specifically to go back to cancer. And it's not just testicular cancer, but it's to help cancer here in the Bay Area and make a difference. They've been recognized several times over the years, but today we recognize them because their work is here in Danville. And when I say they are selfless, they're selfless because not only do they host what is considered the world's largest golf tournament on the planet, it goes over 4 days. And there's 2 groups each day. So it's like 8 golf tournaments that they host that's completely sold out. I was on a waiting list, and fortunately I knew a guy and that I paid to actually play and get into the tournament. But it was really amazing what they do. They now go out and also, still running that in their own organization, they help other organizations right here in Danville of how to raise money and how to go about this. Talk about being selfless. I think, are they competing against themselves? And they're saying, no, this is all really good things that they want to do. But they are wholly dedicated to giving back to their community to help find cures for cancer. And it's for this selfless work that these two people have done. On behalf of the town of Danville and the entire council, we say it's hammer time. Congratulations to Bob and Kim for Have a Ball Foundation. Thank you, guys. Yeah. And by the way, you can sign up online to Have a Ball Foundation and get on the waiting list. And the only way you get on is somebody drops off. Okay, this will take us to our next presenter, and delighted to have Vice Mayor Robert Storr make this next Community Award of Merit.
Thank you, Mayor Arnovich. Would For the Valley please join me on the stage here? Has anybody not heard of For the Valley? Raise your hand. How many people have heard For the Valley? Yeah. Please, come on up. And we have lead pastor Tyler Scott here as well. Thank you for your leadership in the community. Welcome, guys. Yeah. Carol, you stay close to me over here. For the Valley is a movement created out of the Community Presbyterian Church, CPC's, desire to love and serve our community in tangible ways that have a transformational impact outside the walls of the church, throughout the Bay, in our valley, and they've touched many parts of the world. For the four movement came from CPC's strong beliefs that being for others can change the world. It's a simple message. Really is a simple message. This movement started in January 2019, and they had 5 staff members. It's grown to 12 staff members and over 150 volunteers that go out into the community and do amazing work for the community. Thank you very much for that. They are 4 local schools, local businesses, the arts, entertainment, faith and charities, local government, first responders, and all of our families here in the Valley. The team has developed an ambassador-based support system that maximizes how to be for each other. The community shares their needs, they mobilize a team, and it could be as simple as helping volunteers at a house, a senior, a business, or students. I mean, they have been everywhere in our valley. And just as a short story, the tree lighting, they actually had fire pits out there so that the kids could actually roast marshmallows on the fire pit in downtown Danville. Very special. The example of during the pandemic when small businesses were boarding up and there was just chaos in our downtown, and the 4 team bought, delivered, and physically helped our businesses owners board up their storefronts with plywood, to give them, a safe feeling and that they were cared for in extraordinarily distressing times. The goal of this movement is to serve the local community in meaningful ways, no strings attached, with one purpose, and that is to be for each other. The team also loves to spotlight our businesses, and Judy Lloyd will attest to this, that they have the Valley Instagram page, Vitality Bowl, Love You More, Valley Medlin, Sunrise Bagel, Norm's, Hazy Barbecue, CrossFit Danville. You guys are everywhere in our downtown, and we can't thank you enough. That's amazing. The team hosts different organization and community events at CPC. They've got the T-Birds, they've got families, they've got Grateful Gathering. They are literally at every single event the town of Danville or the Chamber actually has, and for this we are forever grateful. Each year, they give $12,000 to a scholarship for college-bound students, whether you're going to a 2-year or a 4-year. For the Valley, for the Valley loves when they can support our community by serving at events as the tree lighting, the Down Syndrome Connection, and the town's summer movie nights on the green. As you can see, they are everywhere in our community, touching and making lives so much better. Help me congratulate Tyler Scott, lead pastor of For the Valley, Carol Muscali for the Valley team and local government ambassador, and is also one of our dedicated parks commissioners. And then we have Dana Carnes, Emily Hill, Dina Anda Dickerson, Stephanie Stegel, Amy McClellan, Stephanie Nava, Susan Tim, Khalib Bonifa, Dimitri Wells, Ryan Pierce, and Elisa Bell. Thank you to each of you. You guys are amazing. Will you help me join? Really well done. So we have a couple plaques here for you, one with everyone's name on it. And we have one for you for the Valley. Let's get together and we'll take a picture.
2 rows if you can.
Closer.
You could just take Tyler now out of the picture. We're okay. Catch them.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the work you do. I have to confess, on behalf of the council, we argue amongst ourselves over one thing: who gets to do what award? Because we all know these people, we all get involved, and sometimes we finally have to decide who gets to do it based on if they had a particular unique relationship. And that's absolutely true on this next award. And we're proud to have, on behalf of the council, council member, excuse me, losing my voice, Councilmember Renee Morgan make this very special award of merit. Renee?
Can you imagine how terrifying it must be to battle with your own mind every single day? We all know that mental illness is not what happens to other people. It touches us all. Education and support creates awareness. Mental illness or a mental crisis is not an identity. You are not cancer. You are not arthritis. You are not that illness. These illnesses do not make your character. The disability in society is the inability to see the person for who they are. But as we all know, there can be no health without mental health. Over the past decade, behavioral health emergencies have risen at an alarming rate, and we are all aware of that. There has been a 20% annual increase in behavioral and mental health calls in our area alone. This must be addressed, and now we have. Would San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District Chief Paige Meyer please join me?
Yeah.
As he walks slowly up here, right? So we all can, every 21 hours within our area, fire and emergency medical services responds to a mental health and behavioral call. From 2015 to present, fire and EMS has seen over 2,300 mental health related calls. Chief Meyer's Public Safety for Mental Health program involves integrated specialized education to include awareness and identification of a common mental health disorders, focusing on nonviolent patient approach, and training on an ongoing basis, which is so important. And in reference to training, the program addresses how first responders in the field deal with issues and ensures that our EMS and firefighters have the tools necessary to identify different types of mental health emergencies and to de-escalate them. The plan implements specialized mental health education for emergency paramedics, dispatchers, firefighters, law enforcement, and in addition to de-escalation and crisis management and mental health follow-up. So important as well. We are proud of the service and level of care provided to our community by Chief Meyer and the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District, and I see some fellow members up in the rafters seats up there, the nosebleed seats. His public safety for mental health protection plays an integral role in the healthcare system as patient advocates. Communities across the nation must adapt to the increase in demand for better mental health care. The clear message that we all know is its need for change. We thank you, Chief Meyer, for your leadership in addressing this local crisis, devising an innovative and effective program, and addressing the need in our own community. On behalf of the entire Danville Town Council, we would like to present you with the Danville Award of Merit. Woo!
Chief, thank you, and thank you to your team. This has been an outstanding program that is being piloted first in San Ramon, and the goal is that this program would spread throughout the county and throughout the nation. And now, we are, no, we're going back. Nope, we have that. This is actually where we go back to have a little interlude. But here's the story. I told you as Madeline Reutfeld had come up here because she is our new student poet laureate. What you don't know is the story of how she got here because it's somebody else who was selfless. One of the interns I had working as the mayor this year, and by the way, I thought this young lady was in high school because we usually only do it for high school. And it took me after a couple of meetings and her mom was there, I found out she was in the 8th grade. But that was no barrier. There's a young woman here named Sonia Sharma. Sonia, would you stand up for a second? Oh, there you are. Sonia, right there. Let's give her a big hand. She had a passion for poetry and a way to write and a way to communicate. And she had an alternative. In fact, there'll be an article coming up about her and Maddie in Danville Living in the January issue. She created the program, helped research, found samples of other ordinances, prepared it, presented it, worked with our city attorney, he reviewed it. She made a presentation to the council. She made at a study session to convince us. It was unanimous, we thought, let's bring this forward to the full council in a public hearing. And she goes through and was so proud that she created for high school students, and she obviously is now a freshman at Monte Vista, only to find out she lives in Danville postal code, not the town of Danville. She was heartbroken to find, because she lives outside our incorporated borders, and all of our commissions are required to live in the town of Danville. There's a nexus to that, taxpayer money and things like that. So what she did was went out and recruited other people to apply for a position that she couldn't get. So let's just give her a big thank you for her work. So the fruits of that process, in the council interviewing 3 young women, and they each presented poems, and we had them do a reading. It was a very small room, very intimidating, 4 adults and a very young person from San Ramon Valley High School. That Madeline Royfelt stood out head and shoulders, and she chose to write about our oak tree. Now, what better? We just did the lighting of the oak tree, and it was only a couple of weeks before that we did the interviews. So I would like to invite Madeline to come back and recite her original poem. Madeline, welcome.
Crimson and composed, its roots lie beneath the sky, a majestic oak tree, alone and awry. It yearns to make a home in a place of love, but love can be lost in times made rough. So it grows with the rain that pours from a lonely sky, producing leaves of emerald that reach exceptionally high. The oak tree's leaves contrast with the pandemic's gray, for hope often shines against its solemn prey. The oak tree stretches its branches, searching for a sign, for knowing there is love outlasts gloomy times. The rain still pours, yet the oak tree prevails, pining for the security that a community's support entails. For even when the world seems broken and gone, an oak tree can grow in the wake of new dawn. So with that knowledge, the oak tree prospers, knowing that its home is where community is honored. Not in picturesque meadows, nor in barren lands, the oak tree is strengthened by Danville's extending hands. Neighbors helping neighbors inspired the tree. Gratitude for each other, the power of me becoming we. For out of an acorn made of benevolence can sprout an oak tree of profound impact and relevance. And so the oak tree thrived, and as did its town, inspired by the emeralds that grew from the ground. The oak tree still stands, the town's symbol could never fail, upheld by the notion that unity will prevail. At last the oak tree had found its home, content in its certainty that Danville's love would never roam. Thank you.
Well, that was Maddie's first presentation, and I have to tell you, I just found out she's already booked. I'm at a meeting for Innovation Tri-Valley, which is the 5 cities here in the Tri-Valley, and she's one of the featured speakers as our Youth Poet Laureate. Congratulations to that as well. Well, we are down to our last 2 awards, and these are a big deal. The next award is the Michael K. Szymanski Community Service Award. This is an award presented in honor and memory of a former council member that we lost while he was in office, and that we knew him as Mike Szymanski. And we were delighted, yes, to have his daughter, Cindy Allen, here present this year's award. And I'll give you a little quick background as she walks up. The council gives the family some suggestions based on research. Then they, as a family, choose the absolute individual without our comment or anything. And Cindy, we're delighted to see you, and thank you for being here again.
Thank you. So as he said, our family does get the list, and we pick the person that stands out the most to us that's made the biggest difference to our community. Now, the one thing that my dad always cherished was what somebody in our youth can do to make a difference. It's easier for an adult to get up and do it themselves, but to have a student in high school, junior high, or elementary school do the same, it's a little different. They have to give up friends, free time, time at the movies, whatever it might be. So it's even more special when we find somebody that's willing to do that to make the difference. We are here tonight honored to represent exactly what that means to our community. And just as Renee was saying about the mental health and everything that's challenging our community, there's things challenging our students just as much. And we come from a line, my sister's a teacher, she knows the school system, and I'm in healthcare, so we know the other parts that are happening with mental health in adults, but what's happening with our youth in schools. And this person that we're honoring tonight has taken that upon herself to make that difference. She and her fellow Girl Scout troop heard reports of fellow students being attacked at school. Can you imagine going to school to learn and have to worry about your own personal safety while you were there? They've taken it upon, she has decided that she wanted to help students be better prepared to defend themselves when those things were to happen at school. She and her troop launched a program called Project Empower and worked with the town of Danville to form an after-school program where students could take self-defense classes. Now imagine going to school having to learn self-defense. Now with a successful pilot run, she then decided it would be more effective and efficient to train your PE teachers to teach self-defense. So therefore, this group that she has, program that she has created, began teaching and training PE teachers to train self-defense in their classrooms. So these students would then feel more protected and safe at school. So we would like to, as a family and as the town of Danville, honored to present the Michael K. Szymanski Community Service Award to Sonia Sharma. Thank you.
Well done. I'll just add to that, it is not only an award, it's also, there's an envelope which is for a scholarship. Sonia, we're proud of what you've done to help make your community better. Thank you. Well, the last award is called the Danville Award. It's the highest honor that the council and the town can bestow upon a person or group. It's not always given every year. The belief is for the person or group to be recognized, but they have to be impactful over a very long period of time. And the tradition is, yes, we used to fight over who gets to do this. Well, I know that person better than you and all of that. The tradition is the mayor gets to do that. So I am only doing this on behalf of our council. But the person that we're recognizing is somebody that we know really well. And it's a person who has been so selfless to our community in so many aspects. This person is a problem solver. He's a person that when there's a need that needs a hole plugged, he figures out how to do it. He's had a role in our community from being a public service company providing services. And I'll tell you what that is in a second. But this individual also helps all of our businesses. He takes it personal when a business isn't doing well. Excuse me, I'm losing a voice again. That he, along with many of us when we've been mayor, he created back in 1999 the process of why do we send an email, talk to somebody over the phone? Why don't we go together and knock on every single business door? Well, I thought that was an impossible task. But with this person, I'm going to bring him up here. It's Tim Argenti. Tim, come on up here. So I have a little more to tell about this gentleman here. You got to stand here and take it. But he is this creative person. He looks like just the gentleman. He's now a grandfather. And he loves that role, but he still is one of our best problem solvers here in the community. Tim and his wife, Petra, and their daughter, Chrissy, have been residents in the town of Danville for over 30 years. And as I said, they're both grandparents twice over. From the time Tim moved to our community, he demonstrated a passion and attitude to improve and enhance the quality of life in Danville. Yes, he was the general manager of Republic Services. Anybody know what that is? They pick up your trash. Hopefully. Yes. Right. Well, he's retired, so don't blame him. Don't blame him. But in that role, and his role as a local business and a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and not only here, but he also was a member in other areas, that he always helped support organizations that he knew would make a difference, such as helping the Veterans Hall, the Eugene O'Neill Foundation, Stand Against Domestic Violence, and the Museum of the San Ramon Valley, just to name a few. He's received a few awards because he deserves it. But Tim isn't somebody to sit back and say, okay, I've done that. I'm done. Put it on your resume. He is really retired, but he still gets phone calls from me sometimes because I'm trying to figure out who to get a hold of Republic Services. And he says, I'll take care of it. And he does that exactly with the Chamber of Commerce. Whenever there's something that needs to be done, he's the guy to do it. But he also was recognized as a Distinguished Citizen of the Year from Boy Scouts of America, the Executive of the Year by the Contra Costa Central Labor Council for his support for labor, awards and resolutions from Contra Costa County, the State Assembly, and Congress for his outstanding leadership and community service. He's been named a Rotarian of the Year, and his own company honored him as the top executive in the United States. And by the way, they are the largest company. Tim has directed his passion to the area of the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce. Not only did he come up with the idea of walking business and door to door, but we were honored after a group visiting from Japan to meet people here in Danville. And that's out of that connection, he said, why don't we go meet more people? Because meeting this gentleman from Japan was extraordinary. And it made the world just a little bit smaller. He spent countless hours cultivating strong relationships with the local businesses, the staff, and the Chamber of Commerce and our council. And our community couldn't be stronger because of his efforts. He served as the chairman of the board of the Danville Area Chamber of Commerce twice. He still continues to serve on the board of directors. And one of the things that both Councilmember Renee Morgan is part of is something that we're all passionate about. And that's his commitment that spanned over 50 years, from transporting homebound seniors to various destinations, giving them a chance to socialize, run errands, and as well as serving as the current chair of the Board of Directors of Meals on Wheels in the Diablo region. This organization provides meals to any senior over the age of 60, and this is something he advocated for with no pre-qualifications. Doesn't make any difference to your financial. Because one of the things that he has found in dealing with seniors is that wealth is not the problem. It's the connection to humanity. There are those who need the financial support, and so Tim pivoted and changed that. And it really made a difference. He also provided direction to expand the senior nutrition program to include fresh fruit and vegetables. What a novel idea, but it's really hard to do when you're trying to keep food and pass it along. But under his leadership, meal delivery has increased 40% with no waiting list, resulting in a total of 600,000 meals delivered last year. On a side note, Tim's help and his compassion, he was asked to serve as Father Christmas, by the way, you may not recognize him, for the last 2 years. Now, you would think that's just a fun job. It's a lot of work, and all the children want to come up to you, and you have to be that person and that role model for them, and Tim has just done a great job. And he's always worried somebody's going to learn who he is. His grandkids will figure it out eventually. But I have to tell you one last thing, and this is something my wife and I are sharing. We both got married in 1973, which means Petra and Tim will celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary in a few months in February. Congratulations to both of you. Tim, on behalf of your community, thank you for your decades of service, and we know you're not stopping. You won't quit till you can't do it. So congratulations, Tim. Thank you. Let's take a picture of it. We're almost to the fun part. We have one more small thing to do.
Well, this is part of the program where the vice mayor says nice things about the mayor.
Oh, good.
Well,
Good, thank you.
the outgoing mayor, by the way. Yeah. And all the things that Newell has accomplished, and his career is amazing. There's 32 years, 7-time mayor of Danville. That in itself is absolutely incredible. Newell, thank you for 7 times. I've actually had the pleasure to be his vice mayor 4 times. Newell has been an important part of the evolution and the creation of Danville. There is hardly anything that you don't love about the town of Danville that Newell has not personally touched, whether it was DRB, Planning Commission, to Town Council, longtime town council member. He's been an intricate part of everything that's amazing and wonderful in the town of Danville. And I've admired his work ethics, and I've admired his decision-making ability for 21 years. Now, but I'll tell you, the part that's not much fun is that actually being Newell's vice mayor, there's nothing to do. I have no job. Newell is everywhere. I sit around, and I hope he doesn't show up so I can give a speech, and he shows up. I've written all my speeches this year, hoping that he wouldn't show up, and he shows up. So I said, dude, you don't have to go to everything. You could give me an opportunity. And the one chance that I actually had to give a speech where I didn't think he was going to show up, he showed up at the last minute. And Newell has the ability to make multiple events in what appears to be an almost impossible scenario. And sometimes we have 3 events to go to in a night, and I'm like, how do we do this, Newell? He says, look, I'll drive, because he apparently thinks I get lost, and we're going to go, and when we get there, don't talk too much, and we're going to bounce, and we're going to go from one event to the other. Newell Arnerich presides at the dais with the experience and compassion that has guided this town through some very tough and difficult moments. And his experience is always appreciated by all who have worked with him. He makes sure people feel that they've been heard and gives the applicant and the public the same respect. Newell has always said that being a part of this council and this governing body, we must always make the best decisions on behalf of the town of Danville, period. And that's what we do. Every now and then, a person comes along that's a proven commodity, with a strong sense of purpose, wonderful characteristics, in humility, well, almost humility, amazing ability to lead by example. Newell carries himself with dignity and always has the respect of his community. He has an incredible sense of humor and has always given you some really good advice. In fact, the last time I was mayor, I said to Newell as I was leaving, the building, hey, any advice for outgoing mayor to the new mayor? He said, look, I left this town in really good shape. Don't screw it up. I thought, what an amazing sense of humor. Newell, in my opinion, and all of our opinions, anybody who knows him knows that he's a man of vision. He's fiscally responsible. He's reasonable, rational, articulate. He's a man of intellect. He doesn't take credit. He shares the credit. It's not his ideas. They're our ideas. It's never look at what I did. It's look at what we did. A man of purpose who's most proud of being married to his beautiful wife, Janice, for 50 years, almost 50 years. They met in kindergarten. Wait to hear that love story. Yeah. A father to his beautiful daughter, Julia, a trauma nurse, her husband, Mike, and they have a very first grandchild in Logan, who's a few months old. Very nice. That's the true sense of a leader, when a man in this community that people look up to, admire, and respect, and that is a true sense of a leader. It's been an honor to serve as Newell's vice mayor. I've learned a great deal from Newell, and you have represented this town, the Tri-Valley, this community locally and regionally with a strong voice, made incredible decisions on behalf, and did it all with professionalism and poise. And tonight, we honor you. Please join me in honoring my friend, Mayor Newell Arnerich. And as you can see, we have some parting gifts.
Wow.
That's yours, sir?
Thank you. The golden gavel.
And this is yours. And then you get to say a few words.
Can I open it? Oh, I know what this is.
You can certainly open it, of course.
The best gift that you can get by serving on the council, it's a yearbook. And this is a yearbook. Afterwards, you can take a look at it. And it sort of documents and photos and things that happened over the past year. And I think this was produced by Cat Bravo. But I have to tell you, Robert, he did get to do 2 events. He just forgot. But Karen Stepper and Renee Morgan, because we kind of go in order about, from seniority and who's up next. But both Karen and it just happened to be I was in Ireland and could not make some Eagle Courts, and I think I went to 37 this year. But thank you to fellow council members, and even Dave's had to help out as well. But what I'd like to say is the thank you to the council members, that while we don't always agree, whatever the decision is, it becomes the decision of the council. And that's important. And our town manager reminds us of something, and we've had different council members over the past almost 28 years for me, where they were really more interested in getting their name on the front page. And Joe Calabrigo, our city manager, has always said, anytime you're on the front page, it's not for a good reason. Page three in the old East Bay Times, that's local news. That's good stuff. But staying here in the council and working together with people of this quality and this dedication is what makes it good for both me to want to stay involved, but it's also good for our community. But if it wasn't for Joe, Rob, and Marie, who's sitting here, along with all of our other staff and our chief of police, Dave Castile, head of maintenance there. If it wasn't for them and their dedication of how important, they believe the same things that we do about how special this community is, any of them can go work in another community and probably make more money. But people stay and work here for a long period of time on our staff because it's great people, great colleagues they work with. They know each other. And we finally just had one opportunity. It's been a project almost 3 years in the making. As you know, our Old Town offices, we just moved. We moved 100 yards away. There's always been this great-looking building that we admired that was at the corner of El Cerro and Lagonda Way, catty corners to St. Isidore's. Very nice-looking office building, but it had a big rotunda and a big round space that most people didn't know has been empty for about 19 years. Very long controversy of what happened. It was going to be a theater, performing arts, and there were some things that didn't work out right, and so the building sat empty for all those years, and it was restricted by state law that it had to go to a public entity or a nonprofit. And many of us on the council have tried to steer nonprofits to try to get it, because they could get it for free. That's that portion of it. The landowner contacted our Joe Calabrigo, our town manager, and said, you know what, I think you guys line up well for this. Two-story building. We could pretty much use the first floor, fill up those floors, put our police department in, and lease out the upper portion of the building, make enough money to cover all the costs, and actually have some net revenue off of it. Our old building was an old building when we bought it. We've never built a building for our staff. It's got differential settlements, a tear-down building. It was so poorly built, but it was cost-effective at the time, and it was a great solution that served us these past 42 years. So just 2 weeks ago, we officially moved in that building. So I invite you to come and take a look. It's really good for our staff. It's good for you. Our service levels are targeted to be at higher levels. It's easier access at our counter. It's easier for our police department to get in and out now. Before they had to cross over and go through the pedestrian parking lot, they now have their own entry-exit off of, or exit off of onto El Cerro. They can turn all of the lights red, and they can get out safely on priority 1 calls. So when you dial 911 and it's an emergency, their goal is to get there in 3 minutes. So it's an honor to be here. I'm honored by serving with all of our council members, but we are just a representative for you. Just know that all the dedicated staff are what really make this community the best in every level of service we do. And by the way, if you don't think we did a good job, we meet every 2 weeks. We'll fix it. Just let us know. Thank you very much. Thank you to the council. All right, this part goes quick. This is fun. And I'll be out of here. So the next thing is, now that we have a council, I really think they need to sign their oaths before they do this, but we did hear them conduct it, so we'll go with that. Now, this is for the selection of mayor and vice mayor. So it is my pleasure to now open nominations for mayor for 2023. Karen Stepper.
Yes, I'm honored to nominate a mayor who's going to do very little for you, because he's written all of his speeches already. He told you this year. He just hasn't given them. And I will tell you, the best thing about nominating Robert Storr is he gets up every morning wondering when he gets to be mayor again, because he's such a joy to behold his smile when he's the mayor of Danville. And so you are going to be well served, and I'd like to nominate Robert Storr for mayor.
So the controversy here is we had usually, you know, we talk amongst ourselves. I guess we didn't talk amongst ourselves. So I'd like to also nominate Vice Mayor Robert Storr. He's a very popular individual, as you can tell, for our 2023 mayor. And here's now where I'm supposed to give the reasons why I believe Robert is our next mayor. And I'd like to say, first of all, that as you've heard, there are so many reasons why Robert should be our male mayor. He's involved in dozens of civic and educational nonprofit causes, and he's been with our community for over 34 years. He's called Danville his home. He's involved in our business community, and he even received, some of you didn't know this, in 2005, the Danville Chamber of Commerce Business Person of the Year Award. He is a 3-term planning commissioner, and from 2001 to 2009, and a 3-time vice mayor, and 2-time, or should I say, twice our mayor. 2-time doesn't sound so good, right? But there are personal reasons. At this point, I'd not like to labor you with some more, roasting of Robert, but I'm going to give you a couple personal reasons why I believe that Robert should be mayor. I sat on the Danville Commission and the Planning Commission with Robert for over 8 years. And on my first day on the dais, I decided that I was going to be real serious and dress real appropriate, wear my hair up and look real professional. And as I walked up onto the dais, I don't know how he found out, but I'm a big Elvis fan. And there was sitting a pair of Elvis sunglasses with the chops and all. And I was told by him that I needed to wear them during the meeting. Well, I still have those, and that's exactly what he said. It's protocol. The new planning commissioner has to do this. Well, he didn't realize what he was getting into because I had the same kind of sense of humor. So next 8 years were pretty fun. I'd like to also let you know that that also is something that's so important for all of us, because when you meet Robert, he is a person of dignity, is a person of who he is, but he's also a person that knows how to break the ice and make you feel welcome. He takes his position and his decisions really seriously, and he's an attribute on the council, a force to be reckoned with, although he can be a comedian. He is raised by a strong Italian family, and he has Italian strong family morals. And this passion is what he brings to our town and our residents, whom he considers his family. And I've often used the word kumbaya to describe him. Wouldn't you guys use that word? It's Robert, kumbaya. And in the words of Robert, can't we all just get along? He has coined the phrase, nicely done. And speaking of coins, did you probably already ordered your challenge coins and your pens already as mayor? So make sure when you're out there to ask him for some, because I'm sure he has them already. Oh, look, he's got one.
The Robert Storr mayor pin.
There you go. Already. And the other thing that he always says is when you talk about him is, I'm sitting right here. I'm right here. I'm right next to you. Honestly. Well, anyways, I'm right next to you. But one of the things I wanted to say is I'm honored to nominate him as our next mayor for 2023. And we all know that we're stuck with him for the next 4 years, but I think we're all really happy to have Robert on the council for 4 more years. And it's my honor to nominate Robert Storr as our mayor for 2023. Nicely done.
Thank you. Renee, thank you for that. And by the way, that last line is Robert's best statement. Nicely done. Seeing no further nominations, all in favor say aye. Aye. You don't need a second for nominations.
I'll vote too, then.
But if you want to hold this meeting up and see if we can find a second, I don't know if I go there. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carried unanimously. And now, this belongs to you. Well done. Nominations.
Welcome back. Where have you been? Well, the next item of business here is to nominate our vice mayor.
Mr. Mayor, may I make the nomination? I had the opportunity of the second longest serving person is Karen Stepper, and I am delighted and honored to nominate her to be vice mayor. I've already talked about all the great things that she's done earlier tonight, but Karen has done an outstanding job, and this would be your sixth time being vice mayor? Yes.
Just count mayor.
Yeah, we only count mayors. But it's my pleasure to nominate Karen Stepper to be your second. And in case you do what I suggested, in case that happens, she's there to fix it, so.
Oh, great. So, we have a nomination. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Welcome. Congratulations, Vice Mayor Stepper. I will say to you that it's absolutely an honor and a privilege to sit here and thank each of you for joining us this evening. I'm humbled to be mayor again. I'm proud that this council has shown so much support for each other and allowed me the honor of serving this community once again. Thank you for your confidence and support. This is an amazing opportunity that I will treasure and always be grateful for, and I will never forget my time spent on the Danville Town Council. I appreciate how each of you have conducted yourselves professionally and publicly. You are all good ambassadors for Danville, and I'm proud to work with each of you, especially through these extremely difficult COVID years. And that's why I think it's important that we recognize Mayors Renee Morgan, Mayor Karen Stepper, and Mayor Arnerich, who actually navigated our COVID years and helped us make some extremely difficult decisions. When COVID first hit, we all had an emergency meeting that we needed to go to try to figure out on day one of COVID how to cut either $3, $5, or $7 million immediately out of our budget. And that was a late night meeting, and I think we had some good suggestions, and over the course of many years, those three mayors actually helped us navigate extraordinary times. I've admired your work ethics, your passions, and the way you conduct yourselves publicly on behalf of making good decisions on behalf of the 45,000 people that live in Danville. In my opinion, you are all extreme professionals. Very special thank you to Joe Calabrigo, who has set the bar so incredibly high, and he sat at the helm for almost 30 years here in the town of Danville, and literally worked in this town for almost 35 years. He is the real reason why we weathered this storm over the COVID years, and it was honestly a test for all of us. Joe Calabrigo is the real hero here, and the reason that we came through it the way we did. And naturally, he gives this council credit, but honestly, here's where the credit is due. Please help me congratulate Joe Calabrigo for a job well done. And by the way, this is his happy face. I also appreciate my family and friends and their support here tonight. And as always, especially throughout the year, but I will tell you, 90% of my friends have said to me, if you could be the mayor of Danville, honestly, anything is possible in this world. And I'm not sure if I disagree with them. My wife has asked me not to mention her name tonight, so would Sandra Lucchese Store please stand up? We've actually been married for 38 years, and you actually need a supportive partner to actually get through this. And just bear with me. I have both of my sons here this evening who are absolutely my business partners as well. My Michael Store, 34 years old. His beautiful fiance, just 2 months old fiance. They'll be getting married this year, and hopefully we'll have kids next year in 2024. So, Michael, please stand up. Andrew, 31, and his beautiful longtime girlfriend, Dominique Marks. I have high hopes there too, by the way. And like I say, both of them are actually my business partners, and I'm very proud of each of them. My sister and my brother-in-law, Bob and Lisa, are here this evening, and I have friends, my golf buddies, and everybody else. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. One special thank you to Nicole Del Barrio, that she's worked with me for almost 20 years, takes care of my day-to-days, and I couldn't do this without her. She's up on the top there. If you could help me congratulate her as well. She's actually worked with me for 20 years. As many of you know, this council actually gets along, and we actually support each other at a very high level. I believe that when this council gets along, the community prospers for it. Our success as a community is their success as a business, and I pinch myself every day, and I can't believe that we're lucky enough to live here in the town of Danville, work and raise our families here, and it's just unbelievable. We simply love Danville, and we will continue to make good decisions on behalf of the town of Danville. Just like each of you, I drive home, and I got to tell you, I love our beautiful, clean streets. I love our hillsides. I love Mount Diablo. I just love where we live. I look up at those beautiful mountains and hillsides and all that beautiful open space that's deed restricted and dedicated into perpetuity. It's 42% of Danville is our open space. Very proud of that, and we did that on the town, the staff, planning commission. I love the community we are, and this council will continue to protect this community and that we love. It starts with our maintenance department and all the good work they do, our dedicated staff, our dedicated police department, and each department that makes this community run so efficiently. And as just as an aside, we will always balance our budget, and we will never spend money we don't have, and we'll make sure that we have money saved for a rainy day. That's what we do in the town of Danville. And this is our responsibility to our residents. Public safety will always 100% be our #1 priority, and we'll always make sure that our police department has the tools that it needs to be successful and to help us maintain one of the safest communities in California. There's 482 cities, and we've been designated the safest city in California, and we're all very proud of that, and we will continue to maintain that. Thank you to this council and Joe Calabrigo for his long-term vision of what Danville looks like. And I got to tell you, I like what I see. I got to tell you, this council likes what we see, and we will continue to make good decisions on behalf of the town of Danville. One day, we'll hand the baton to the next generation of leaders, and I believe they will look back and they will say that we were thoughtful and that we made good decisions. Danville will always be a special place to live, and this council and this dedicated staff will always make sure that that continues. Tomorrow, we will continue to look into the future and build upon where we are today. We are all in this together, and together we will make a difference. I plan on being around for a while, and all of us on this council plan on being the best ambassador that we can be on behalf of the town of Danville and this community. With that, I will close and wish you a happy holiday, a happy Hanukkah, and a very Merry Christmas. And let's go have a drink and you have some hors d'oeuvres. This meeting is adjourned. Nicely done. Nicely done. Yeah.